And we are live. Welcome back to the RINO podcast. Hi, Caitlin. I slept weird and I can't bend my elbow correctly, so I have to drink with my left hand.
Oh,
It's going to be a
I
weird all episode.
I
Uh,
feel like that's old people problems.
it is old people. I am old.
You're a Gen Xer, right?
Gen Xer. And do you know what I did yesterday?
What did you do?
I celebrated 14 years of marriage with my wife at the Capitol Grill. And for the very first time, I had Wagyu beef, $115 steak. It was
Wow.
it was worth it. It was like I'm Wagyu beef and Capitol Grill. Obviously, you go to Capitol Grill, it's awesome. But I usually, get a ribeye or sometimes the porterhouse. But they had this Wagyu beef on special, so I was like, I got to do it. Never tried it. It's worth
It's
it.
your anniversary. You gotta do it. You
Yeah.
gotta do it.
So so we this past week was 14 years of wedded bliss, and we are here to talk. I'm here to explain to you who Pearl Davis is.
I have no idea. So the thing is like she pops up on my feed every now and then, and like I guess like I just how can I say this in like the best possible way? Like I like moms on Twitter who are like a little bit older than me or around my age that like keep it real but don't do like the crazy anti-feminist stuff. Like I guess they're just realistic, and I feel like this person, when I do see her reactions, it's just like crazy reactionary, and I'm like,
Mm, no,
is
that's.
that
I mean, maybe now she is. Okay, so it's
so?
probably about a. Okay, yes. So the full explanation is somewhere about a year ago, maybe longer. The my YouTube algorithm changed,
Okay.
and I started getting fed a what I would say a diet of anti-feminism, right? But healthy, so like it was good. It was on point. It made sense. It was the Fresh and Fit podcast, which I've never watched a full episode. It's the Whatever podcast. You've seen that. It was Andrew Tate, the other redheaded guy, something Waller, and Pearl Davis. And Pearl, she's great, garnered quite a big YouTube following and has, millions and millions of views of essentially recycling the same show over and over again. So she would have like a panel of mostly women on and essentially say
Oh, so
that,
she does like the panels of women, like on like whatever, where like it would be
right,
two dudes with a
right,
panel of
right.
women, and they're essentially trying to make fun of them, right? Or like maybe have
Well,
a
no, I mean, whatever's trying to make fun of them. Um,
whatever is
Andrew,
funny. I like that. I
yeah,
like
but it's the
whatever.
same thing every time. It's the same thing every time. If they bring on OnlyFans girls, they tell them like what you're doing is really not best for you in the long term. They're right.
I mean, I like when Kiko and that conservative dude are on. They're like back and forth is like so funny. It's like you two just need to go ahead and fuck and get over it.
Maybe,
Like
maybe. I want to say this.
is so.
There's a weird guy. He's a liberal, but he goes on all these shows, does a lot of Adderall. His name's the Omni Liberal is Destiny, isn't it? I don't know what his real name is, but he goes on to all these other YouTube channels and essentially engages in a pretty decent debate for a liberal. Like I want to couch that he's not that well informed, but he gives it back as much as he gets. And apparently, he's married to one of the women that went on the Whatever podcast, and that woman looks like Jared Leto. I'm just gonna
Oh,
put that out there. I mean,
oh,
she's an attractive woman, is what I'm saying. But back to where we're at with Pearl. Pearl kind of came flooded into me with the algorithm about a year ago with Andrew Tate,
how long
among
has she been?
others. How long? What's that?
Yeah, how long has she been around?
I'm probably a couple years, but she's gotten bigger I'd say about a year ago.
Okay.
Um, But she would film these, she would record these podcasts with way too many guests. And I'm not even kidding, like 10 people on microphones, which is,
Oh,
it's not a, that's been my major complaint about all these formats is like they just have too many microphones. But I guess it works for them, and it works for the people that are on there that continue to go. And basically, she would say men are getting screwed in the relationship, and by that, divorce laws. She's got a point. She was right. Women, a lot of marriages are sexless. Like her stat is 25%. I'll take her at her word. I don't know where she got that, but she says 25% of marriages are sexless. And basically saying that like that's the woman's problem, right? Putting it back on the woman, kind of shattering the feminist ethos that's out there, where it's like it's all bitch boss and girl power, and they can do anything they want, and whatever you want to do, you can do, and it doesn't matter. Get divorced, leave your kids, and all that kind of shit. Like it's just basically a counter narrative to that, and I think it needed to be pointed out. The problem is it's the same episode over and over again. So, and the other problem is she suffers from Bernie Sanders disease. And if you remember in 2016, Bernie Sanders caught fire running against Hillary Clinton.
Bernie Sanders' disease.
I'm going to explain. Bernie Sanders' disease is the habit, a lot of lefties do this, is getting on stage or on a platform and constantly discussing the symptoms and the problems over and over again. We need to change. We need to a revolution, and we need things are unequal, and we need equality, and like vague descriptions of problems going on in the country, or in this case relationships, but not actual solutions to the problem.
How old is she?
Now she's like 26, 27. So now we're at the point. So Pearl's kind of been, so she's been coming along with this, and rightly.
Is she single?
I believe she's single. She's not married. Single.
Okay, so she's like making these statements, like what
about marriage. So this is important. So this is why I gotta explain this, right? Okay. So she was correct in a lot of her diagnosis of what was wrong with call it American dating culture, or feminist culture, or culture directed at women in the modern age. She like nailed it.
What's her critique though?
A lot of like the biggest one, the big
marriage. Right. Like I get that, but like what's the critique?
The biggest one is guys kind of really don't want to settle down with women who have slept with a lot of guys. Like they're so just like stating that, and you've seen that on at whatever podcast, right? So that's a big one.
That's like been a thing for a long time. It's not like a revolutionary concept, right? Like
it is not. But also remember, like I think
that was the thing when I was in college. Like the total frat move, like era was big, right? Well, I'm sorry, you're Gen X.
I'm a Gen
millennial.
Xer.
I just
I think she's a
I
Zoomer.
feel like we like get through these like she's a Zoomer. Yeah, she's like 26. She's probably like an elder Zoomer. I can't even whatever age. I feel like a lot of these reactionary like influencers, they just regurgitate things that were like popular like 20 years ago on like the social scene of like what is the hot topic, right? Like it's very like circular and like syndical. I just butchered that word, sorry, but like it seems like it goes in cycles, and like what is the most popular thing that we should talk about? Like when you talk, like I saw this with Bridget, right? Like she says that the GOP has a hard time reaching out to women because dudes in our party go tradcon and don't do well reaching out to like moderate women. I generally
okay, we can get into Bridget in a second because I have some thoughts on what she was saying, because
I don't think that Pearl Davis and what she prescribes to is automatically the solution to that, right?
Well, she's not. That's kind of where we're at now. We're past the point where she's pointed out the problem, a lot, and guys don't generally want to settle down with a woman who's slept with a lot of guys, and that goes directly against the whole Sex in the City mentality of the past 20 years, I'd say. You know, that it was like, do whatever you want, bang whoever you want, no consequences. You're going to, settle down, never get married, go, eat sushi and drink white wine with your friends, and you'll live your best life. And it was it's really bullshit, right? So
I do have to say, like, this is a trope, right? Like that. So like how can I say this? I actually like watching Sex in the City, but my lifestyle is clearly not like that, except my shoe closet probably rivals Carrie Bradshaw's.
That's actually true, America,
that's
if you're watching.
Yeah, I think Jeff's seen the picture of my new closet. So, which is filled with shoes. I will post it online one day. I actually have a problem because I actually need to sell shoes because I have too many. And my husband's probably in the background being like, yes, sell them. Typical dude stuff. Anyway, the Sex in the City thing, it's like, they said that in like the first episode, right? Like sleep around like a man and have like no feelings with the man on purpose to see if you can actually do it. That was like what Carrie Bradshaw's experiment was. But then you like watch them progress over the series, and like Samantha falls in love with one man. Like that's the like, so you see the opposite of that happen over the series as the character develops. And you see whether or not they're happy or not with their life decisions. Like Carrie's always been a mess. She still is a mess, but she ends up marrying Big. And I'm not giving away what happens in just like that.
Oh, please, spoil it. That horrid show.
But he dies, and she is like alone again. And
but that show. I mean, you're right. Yeah, the characters eventually progressed to there, but they banged their way through Manhattan and Brooklyn. Right?
It is kind of an experiment. And you see within the show that they prove that you can't just do that, right? And that's
So this is a good point. The second major point after, guys don't want to settle down with girls who, and this is the term, body count, okay? You hear that all over the place. Guys don't want to settle down with a girl who with a high body count. Fair enough. It's a good point, a reasonable one. The second one is that society, and this is very true, modern society has told women, get your career in order, do all that. You can wait till you're 35 to settle down and have a family. And the truth of the matter is the longer you wait until you're, going on into your late 30s, the more difficult it is to have a family and have children specifically.
Blocker at that point, right? So like, you see women who do that, right? And then they come out like, so we take Sex in the City. Sex in the City is written by an author. It was originally a book. Her name is Candace Bushnell, and she got married and she got divorced. She didn't have any kids. And she did this interview, I want to say within the last 5 years, where she was like, I completely regret not having kids.
Yeah.
Like she said it. She goes, I'm going to be alone. I'm alone right now. And I completely regret not having children.
Yeah.
And so, I think that, people make different life choices. That's fine. But would you like to look back at like your life later on and then regret? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to regret buying shoes. Like, I'm not going to.
No, but you got married. You and Mr. Caitlin were, I want to say, college sweethearts. Yes.
We knew each other in high school.
Well, there you go. But you got married in your mid-20s or early 20s, yeah?
Early 20s, yeah. I mean, we've been together for a long time. And so,
the funny part is, the people who I know...
And that is considered weird when we moved up here. That my husband and I got married when we were 23. They thought that we were, like, crazy redneck hillbillies. And I'm like, no. Like, that's just a thing.
On the coasts and major cities, it is not considered normal, and it is more considered abnormal to get married. And you look at the kids, they're getting married at 23. Oh my God, what are they doing? And the funny part is like most of the people that I know that got married in their early to mid 20s, they're still together. like
I,
like high school, a
know,
lot of high school sweethearts, like they're still together. I got married at 33, right? I did the whole thing like as it was supposed to happen. I got it and when looking back on it, I think I would have married earlier. But look, my life's good the way it happens, and things are definitely different for men than they are for women. And I think that's the thrust of what Pearl was talking about. But in the past,
I
yeah,
kind of do agree with that.
yeah,
Like I do. How can I say this in the best way possible? Like being an early 30s woman, men tend to age a little bit better than women. I think we can all be really honest about this. I'm not saying that aging is a bad thing, ladies, but it is a thing that we tend to think and do things about probably more than men, even though men do things about their aging. I think that women tend to want to get married really early. Men can probably hold off for a long time on getting married because women are on a biological clock, whether or not we want to acknowledge it or not. And that's a part of aging. So if you want that family, you got to do it within a certain time span. And men, you see like Al Pacino having a kid in his like 80s. And so like, which is disgusting to me, but yeah, I'm happy for them, I guess.
right.
Um,
So,
yeah.
so in the past few weeks, Pearl's been on Twitter more than I guess she used to be. I followed her for a while, but then she started getting real active on Twitter in the past few months. And she said some, well, quite honestly, some stupid shit. And before she got into this latest back and forth with Matt Walsh, I remember
Who is like the worst person to get into a thing with on Twitter.
at
Like
Twitter, you're not gonna win. You like in a face-to-face argument. If you're on the right, you can actually. If you're on the left, it'd be difficult for you to debate Matt Walsh because it's like his argument is in a pretty solid box. But if you're on the right, you can start to pick away at some of his stuff.
But I think that they also argue kind of the same. How can I say this? Their differences in their argument are not that big, right? Like
no, but the problem
in their exchange, because again, I know Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
Don't really know Pearl that well. I felt like they were not really totally disagreeing with each other.
Well,
right?
Don't get me wrong. This is going to set up, the ultimate podcast episode. The two of them are gonna definitely, sit down and hash it out and talk about these things. But what Pearl got into is the sort of the third pillar in her thing. I mentioned it earlier. Is that like why would men even bother getting married today? It doesn't. They get really screwed if it goes badly. And it's like, yeah, of course that happens, but
I kind of agree with that. Though.
She's right. No, she's right. Men do men absolutely,
like, especially if they have kids.
Yeah.
Well, so like if the marriage have kids, I feel like moms tend to be the ones that usually get custody. I don't think that is totally fair. Because they always think that they should belong with the mom, and what if dad's the more stable one?
Correct. No, I'm with you, and there's a lot of research that shows that if you single parent households that are headed by men, like single fathers, have much better results for the child, than a single mother household. Meaning, like incidents of criminality, stable relationships in the future, like. And I've even noticed this in my own life where
in two-parent households, they need some type of father figure, no matter, like, again, like I, as a conservative, I've never been against gay marriage. I'm not against gay adoption. I'm not against gay marriages having children and all of that. But I feel like even within that sphere, you have to have a strong male presence if it's like two women having a child. And I think that even within like two men having a child, you still need a feminine presence because you need that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You need that balance. Yeah,
the best scenario for a kid growing up is a mother and a father in the home. Yeah. Full stop. And also, and this is the other thing, now, we can get a step deeper, and I'd like to on this, because there's a whole nother layer to this. But Pearl has basically said, well, why the hell would men bother to get married if, if the divorce rates are high and they're risking, their money, not seeing their kids. And the thing is the reason why men get married is to have a family, to create a family, to create something that outlasts them, to find fulfillment beyond material possessions, which.
Hasn't the divorce rate been decreasing though?
You know what? I don't have good stats on that. You hear the 50% mark. You hear the 40 or 50% mark, but I don't know how true that is.
Okay, so like I follow Brad Wilcox on Twitter, and he's really good with family data. FYI, I guess throwing it out there. He does family studies at he's a fellow at Fam Studies, and he's a fellow at AEI. He does a lot of good. The National Marriage Project at UVA. And he actually quote tweeted her. Okay. She's, I guess, screaming online right now.
I wonder if she's watching. Hi, Pearl, if you're watching. I added her.
Don't fall for the red pill take on marriage. Pearly Things doesn't know the stats.
Okay.
Divorce is down dramatically since 1980. No longer true that half of marriages end in divorce.
That's good news.
Because she said, I've also noticed there's a plethora of 10 to 15 year married people pushing marriage, but much less 20 to 30 year people pushing marriage.
Well, that was where I tweet. I quote here. I'll put my tweet on the screen. I got some.
Remember, most people are not.
I got some traction on this one.
Stats.
Yeah. So I got
some. Will be divorce.
Right, but I think.
That, you go ahead.
Yeah. So I replied to it. I got some pretty decent likes and engagement on it. People, but to her thing, the plethora of 10 to 15 year married. Not much 20 to 30. By the way, anybody married 20 to 30, majority are not on Twitter. So if she's basing that on, it's like, you're not gonna. That's not gonna happen.
For 20 to 30 years, you're
a
boomer.
You're a boomer, and you're not on Twitter. You're on
and
Facebook.
You're an elder. Yeah, well, you're on Facebook screaming about Donald Trump. But no,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I actually haven't seen that much anymore, which we can get into in a second on something. But anyway, like I feel like it's just like, Pearl, we agree on like the concept that men get screwed and divorced. Like we agree, but the solution is not to ask why would guys get married. If that's the case, we should be pushing marriage.
Correct.
And we should be pushing that it should be an equal partnership. We shouldn't be pushing these unrealistic expectations on both the man and the woman or the two people in the marriage. When you have unrealistic expectations like that, that is when your marriage it's got an imbalance. And, you have to give and take. That's all what marriage is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, because you'll win the next time or you'll lose the next time, right?
Right.
But it's a balance, right? Like you're in a partnership. We should be promoting good marriage and good partnership rather than, why would guys just walk into marriage? That's going to kind of further, I think, like women automatically being like, I'm not good enough for marriage, and you're going to see like slutty behavior. Like,
right.
I think on the opposite end of that, it does also affect women when you say that why would men get married? Women are automatically evil. Like we want the two sides to come together and have kids for the betterment.
And this is where the guy who I forget his name that you just talked about his tweet, the red pilled movement sort of has to like wake up to what they've, or I should, has to realize what they've awakened, right? Yeah, they pointed out a lot of problems, but the solutions that they're offering go back to traditional fusionism, conservatism. Sorry, which is one, marriage is a good, right? Is a fundamental good thing, right?
So, okay, right. Well, so like this is what Brad Wilcox also posted, right? She's talking about. If we weigh the pros and cons of marriage and the stats show it's more likely to not work out than work out, where vasectomies are more likely to be reversible than irreversible, it's suddenly my fault for pointing that out. And he's noting that what she's pointing out is not unlike the left. And so his example on the left is it's not marriage, it's the money. And this is like some like New York Times person on the Republican wave of pro-marriage propaganda. It's like,
Yeah.
how is this different, right?
Well,
Like,
this is like it's 1619 project thing. Is everything is the system is flawed. The system is fundamentally racist. The system is this. It's like, well, hang on. No, the system is fine. Marriage is fine. There are flaws in our system that we work to correct. You don't throw the whole system out. Marriage works. It's a good thing. It's the foundation of a family, and it's a fundamental good for society. And yes, there are flaws in it, and we should work to fix the flaws, not say that, oh, don't even bother getting married because you might get screwed over. Like, no, you could have a very fulfilling life and start a beautiful family, which is what the goal should be. And that has to be said, and that has to be the counter argument. And I think, Matt Walsh was getting to that, and like Pearl's just not listening to it. It's like she doesn't want to hear shit, because it's sort of like she's this is where the argument falls off the rails, where she was good before and now it's completely falling apart. It's like, yeah, there are problems, but more marriages than not are now surviving and lasting and going on to fulfilling lives. And I can say, I'm sure you can say this, and I can say this, my life is much more fulfilling than it was when I was, going out every Friday and Saturday night when I lived in the city and hanging out with my buddies and drinking beer and trying to hit on chicks. So this is also where the Andrew Tates of the world and the whatever podcast, and it's like, and all this stuff, it's like, okay, you don't want those girls to be on, out at the club. Okay, man, like, careful what you wish for, because then when you go to a club, no girls are going to be there. Like, if they all listen to you, so you got to start to settle down and man up and start to lead by example. Get your life together. Start moving it down the right track. So it's like I think this moves the conversation in the right direction.
I wish we would see more, I guess, TradCon influencers that like promote positive masculinity, but not like as like a meme. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the thing is like, I feel like we went through this like really long period of really shitting on toxic masculinity, and now we have Pearl basically saying toxic masculinity is okay if you're gonna not be in marriage, by asking the question kind of not totally selfishly, but like kind of realistically, why would you be in a marriage if there's not a financial benefit if you end up in divorce?
I'd have to ask for a pretty clear definition of toxic masculinity, but I think if you mean like banging a bunch,
masculinity is like going out banging a bunch of, basically Andrew Tate.
Yeah, being promiscuous.
He's a dick. Like, I mean, like,
he's funny though. Really he's a funny guy. If you ever like, he does make some good points, and but he also says some anti-American shit that I don't like. But anyway.
Well, yeah, because he's British.
He's and half American, half Brit. Yeah, he's weird. Yeah, but
his like ethnicity is what? Like,
he's half black. Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, his dad was black. I think is he still alive? I thought he might have passed away. But yeah.
Like, they say shit like pro-Russia stuff and like all this other crap.
Yeah. No, like, I mean that's another road I don't think we have time to cover today. But I mean the short our 28-minute version of where Pearl Davis came from and what she's doing, and she is an influencer. She has influence. It's an interesting conversation because it really is affecting millions and millions of people are getting the wrong message about what is the better way to maintain a society, right? You can't just go around banging everybody your whole life, and it's better to settle down. And the funny thing is, I was reading this. I read my history and philosophy book on Saturday and Sunday mornings when I get a little peace and quiet, wake up, have my coffee. Yuval Levin wrote the, oh God, I'm blanking on the title. The Great Debate or something like that. I don't know. But it's about Edmund Burke and Thomas Paine. And I'm at the part, and I read it today, where it's like the French revolutionaries were advocating for the destruction of the family. Literally the destruction of the family unit, the breakdown. So this has been going on from the left for 250 years. Over 250 years, they've been trying to remake society, and
that was definitely part of the more radical side of the French Revolution. So you see, like, to get into like my history major mode, like during the French Revolution, Thomas Paine and Edmund Burke took a lot of, I guess, political ideas from the French Revolution, Tocqueville and all of them. But you see Edmund Burke come back from the French Revolution, seeing that it's very bloody. And then you go into the American Revolution. Thomas Paine knew of that as well. You see like Mary Wollstonecraft go to the French Revolution. She's like really into it in the beginning, and then they start chopping heads off, and she comes back and it's completely changed into like a more sane version of feminism for that time. But it's like you just see like, like in France, I guess the more radical movements of that were like doing the philosophy on stuff, they thought that they could, I guess, ruin the family unit while also, because they thought it was a hierarchy, like a monarchical.
Well, it was not. It was an undemocratic institution. It just because they wanted to remake everything. Well, if you remake everything, then you're remaking everything. Like marriages, you hit the reset
French
button.
anarchists at the time really actually planted the seed for communism. They really.
No, this is where it all began. So much came out of the French Revolution.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't really realize that, like French anarchists, they really started the socialist movement, and that really motivated Karl Marx.
And it really caught fire with Napoleon, which I can't wait for Thanksgiving in that movie. But they're probably they're not going to cover the after effects of it, but like that's still going to be awesome. I can't wait for that.
It's like, man, how often do you think about the Napoleonic Wars? And like it's like, no, Caitlin, how often do you think about the Napoleonic Wars? And it's like,
well, you saw this on Facebook. I was like, like several times a week I think about the Roman Empire. Napoleon is probably a couple times a month I think about what Napoleon did. Napoleon changed.
I think about Napoleon almost every day.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fascinating.
I think about World War II. I think about World War II probably every 2 days. The Roman Empire is probably once a week for me.
Yeah. Anyway, to wrap up on
the Roman Empire every day.
Yeah, I can't say every day. So to wrap up on Pearl and Matt Walsh, I guess. Look, I think she's going down the wrong direction where she's at now. But she's young. She's got
her capital letters going on. She's yelling online.
Yeah. She's like, young.
Girl, she one notch.
The stream might get knocked off if enough people are watching. I don't even know. But I think she can learn. She's one that we want to get on our side. We don't want to turn into Candace Owens. Like she could actually be a valuable asset of moving society in the right direction, which is away from what she is diagnosed and what brought her to notoriety. All right. Next up, EJ Miller replied back to a tweet of mine from February. And I should have queued this up, but let me cue this up. And it was like, no, it was wild because I here is this. Okay, so I got to put this up on screen.
Even when EJ and I disagree, love him.
Yeah. No, it was fine. It wasn't anything. But on February 1st, I guess I quote tweeted him I'll go back in time here. EJ says on February 1st, I would most certainly vote for Nikki Haley for president, but not over RDS or Youngkin in a primary. She will, however, do a lot better than many of you think. And I go the same day, 7 months ago. This is the 10th time I've seen better than many of you think. And is that her campaign slogan? Also, I think she'll top out at 18% max. I'm holding to that. So
what is she at right now?
Depends.
She's
on the
not
poll.
at 18.
Not at 18. So for some reason, he must have bookmarked this and they were at the end of September, and he comes back. Remains to be seen, but seems like Nikki will end up higher than at 18%, but not sure if she wins. Definitely better than many of you thought, and especially the RDS only crowd. Well, I'm not RDS only. If Nikki Haley, let me say this clearly. for
I like
everybody
people
listening.
who like are like
Yeah.
her like only RDS. It's like no.
No.
Like, you all don't get it. I will vote for Nikki Haley. I have
Yeah.
actually no problem voting for Nikki Haley.
None.
I find her policy prescriptions to be completely stale.
Yeah.
I think that she did well in the debate. I do have to say, her going after Vivek, that was unexpected. Awesome for you, girl. Like, but like, I really, really hate the girl boss trope because I think that conservative women have it tougher than liberal women, and that they really have to prove that they're not a girl boss, they're the boss. And so I don't think that Nikki Haley really falling for that trap and doing like the Margaret Thatcher quote was cringy to me. Like when she made it, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh. And
you said it best. You said it really well. That it's like her instincts aren't good on this stuff. Like
she's not. And then like someone like online got all mad at me over it, and I was just like, you're getting really angry on a Saturday afternoon about mild criticism of Nikki Haley.
Yeah, and it's all been mild so far. Like, look, there's a couple things when she started run for president that it was just like they're little things. Look, if she wins the nomination, I will absolutely vote for her, campaign for her, donate to her campaign. She will be a vast improvement over Joe Biden.
But you're only RDS, Jeff.
Yeah, you're right. No, but in the primary, yeah, I am, because he would be the best. But you know, when the whole Disney flub happened with Nikki, and she's like, well, they can come on up to South Carolina because we have a good environment. It's like, Nikki, that's not what this is about. It's not about states being competitive and tax rates and things like that. It's like they're pushing an agenda. Like, yeah, okay, the woke agenda. Yes, I know we've heard it a million times, but it's true. It's true. An overly racialized, overly sexualized agenda. And it's like, and if you want to hit back against curriculum, against a don't say gay bill, that's not really a don't say gay bill. I just think it's weird. You're going to catch shit.
Yeah. So like my other thing on this is that like one of the biggest criticisms of Ron DeSantis is that in ads, he will not come out and say Donald Trump's name when he's like, I'm the only one that has done this, done that. And I actually think that that's a reasonable criticism. Nikki Haley like compliments Donald Trump like every other sentence. Like she only compliments him. Like when she was on Ruthless, I was like, this is the worst interview that I have ever heard. She sounds like an idiot. All she's doing is complimenting him and then saying, well, he allowed me to disagree with him. Like, are you fucking serious? He allowed me to disagree with him? Like, I just, and then she just raised her hand like almost as fast as Vivek when talking about supporting Donald Trump in 2024. And it's like, wait a minute, like she's supposed to be the moderate alternative when she's like,
there's a little background to that. One of the
like, I want the movement to move on from Donald Trump. I don't want some woman that like still attaches herself to him. Like it's weird. Like that's where I'm just like, I would vote for her. Like, let's say she wins the nom, like something catastrophic happens and she wins. I would vote for Nikki Haley. I'm not sure I would go out and campaign for her in Massachusetts, maybe in New Hampshire, but like, I just am bored by her.
She's boring. Okay, but not boring in like the Ron DeSantis kind of boring, like not entertaining, but like it's just it's a conservatism of the past. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we can do better. Like that, and I think
I feel like okay, like 2004 happened when I was in high school. I feel like this is like she's like 2004. Like I just don't. I don't even know how to describe it. I just am bored with her. I feel like her like policy prescription. Like I don't want to hear about fucking gas. This is like normal Republican shit that like everyone believes. We all agree with you on. Okay. Like, what are you going to do to move the Overton window over to the right from the left? And with her, I don't see it. I did think that she gave a realistic answer on abortion, but within that, what are you going to do about it? Like you said it, but what is the policy at that point?
Correct. And that's a good point, because there's a couple things on Nikki.
It's the only thing did not really clarify.
I don't know what she's running on. Now, granted, I don't know. I mean, Donald Trump's running on overturning the 2020 election, but I can tell you what Ron DeSantis is running on. I don't know what Nikki Haley's running on, other than, being not Ron DeSantis. I mean,
I guess kind of sort of not Donald Trump. Like,
yeah.
I just
so there's that, but also
she has I like the people that she hired for her campaign. Like, I think that they're solid, awesome people. They're clearly doing a good job. She's not going to make it in Iowa because she doesn't have really good retail skills with that type of evangelical voter up in the Midwest. The South is also not the same as the rest of the United States. FYI, I just want to throw it out there. In New Hampshire, she might be okay.
Here's where it is right now. When I'm at the gym, or even maybe I'm flipping around my television, she's running a lot of TV ads. That's why her numbers are up in New Hampshire. She's running a ton of TV ads, which are gonna move you from 6% to 10%. That'll move the needle, and that's what's been happening. It's her TV ads. Ron DeSantis, I haven't seen a single Ron DeSantis ad for New Hampshire. He hasn't done his ads yet. They're waiting for him because it's September, and it's like, okay, you can put.
I saw one for her yesterday.
Yeah. I'll end with this little anecdote. I saw
one for Chris Christie too.
Yeah, right. I was out to dinner with a friend who's progressive, like liberal progressive, right?
Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. You have liberal friends because you live in the real world? Okay. Yeah. I just want to throw it out there. So
I do.
When I get attacked for like something like that, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I try to touch the grass every single day. I have friends that disagree with me. Yes. I live in the state, like I live in the, or Commonwealth, right? Like, I live in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
So with the question of the election came up, and Biden and Trump and this and there, and they say, well, who are you backing? I'm like, you're backing DeSantis, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they looked at me and said, why not Nikki Haley? That's why not Nikki Haley. Because on some level, she's palatable to the liberals, the progressives. She wants to be liked by the corporate media. She wants to be liked by the New York Times. And when your progressive friend says, why not Nikki Haley? That's why not Nikki Haley, okay? Because there's just...
It is a meme. Like, good God. Like, I just, like, that's such a meme. Like, because I don't support Nikki Haley. I would vote for Nikki Haley. I would vote for Nikki. I have no problem voting for her. I actually have no problem voting for, like, a lot of them, except maybe, like, Chris Christie. And like Vivek, I would never vote for Vivek.
No, I wouldn't vote for him. Every argument for Nikki is that is a general election argument, but she's not running in the general election. She's running the primary, and I want
I
want the Republican nominee to put fear into the hearts of the Democratic Party. I don't want them to go, yeah, that's okay. No. I don't want that. Like, if they go, yeah, that's okay. Okay, well, then there's a problem there. I want them to strike fear into their hearts. And Ron DeSantis does that. They want Trump to win because they know they'll beat him. They're okay with Nikki Haley, even if she wins. That's been
their game for a long time. Like, when I speak to Dem operatives, and yes, again, I speak to Dem operatives, they've wanted Trump to be the nominee for a long time.
And even
with Biden sucking. They knew Biden sucked in 2020, Jeff. Like,
if Trump's the nominee, it'll be fine. It'll be a cakewalk.
Right.
It'll be a cakewalk.
Oh my God. That poll that came out last night from Washington Post and ABC, and like the Trumpers really jumped on it. It was like Trump 54, Biden 42 or something. And it was like the Washington Post had to come out later and be like, this is an outlier. Like, my thing on this is that, like, right now when you see polls of Nikki, Nikki beating Biden in the general election. So like every single time, it's first of all, it's like low to mid 40s. She's never hitting 50. It's because nobody really knows her, so she has room to grow. Biden.
Oh, she'd win. She'd win a general election against Biden. She'd win a general election probably against any Democrat. So would Ron DeSantis.
I don't know if she would. To be quite honest, I don't know if she would. I don't know if she could win Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin with her message. Like she's too, and that's the other thing that I think that
she's very beltway. I mean, that is true.
I think that when you get too technical with the policy instead of like actually really connecting with voters, like I don't want to hear about the gas tax in New Hampshire. Like, come on. Like we all agree. We agree on
it's maybe
like you're just doing typical like conservative stuff. Yes, everyone agrees with you. The term limit thing sucks, but like at the same time, you're never getting that passed. Like that's like 2012 policy.
You said it really well a few weeks ago when you hit on this. She doesn't think the culture war. She thinks the culture war doesn't exist, and it's something that only righties talk about online. Like she doesn't get that in every school in America there is now activism. There's activist teachers pushing, this nonsense. And I don't want somebody who's like, well, we don't need to fight the culture war and this or that. No, there's a culture war. I want somebody fighting it. They're fighting it on their side. I want somebody stepping in there and fighting it on ours. And Ron DeSantis is literally the only guy doing that. The rest of them, Nikki Haley doesn't want to fight it, doesn't know how to fight it, doesn't think that it even exists. And Donald Trump, agrees with the other side.
Yeah. No.
So it's like we got nobody on that front. We got nobody on that front.
So like that's the one thing that I've been thinking about in this race. Okay, so like let's say Donald Trump gets the nomination. I don't think he's going to be able to unite the party.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would just be resigned to a loss. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, like I just don't think he's going to be able to.
So, very uplifting episode, Caitlin. All right. Well, that is it. Go on over to patreon.com/rhinopod. Only $1 a month. That's it. It's so cheap. Just for extra content. You'll like it. We give you a little bit of extra episodes there. There's the debate Wednesday night. Maybe we'll do debate reaction if I have the presence of mind to, maybe we'll bring a guest in or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking on the fly. All right. But yeah, presidential debate, 9:00 Wednesday night. Tune in for that. Maybe we'll do some analysis or recapping post-debate, either that or who knows next weekend. But anything else, Caitlin?
No. Have a good week, guys.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. Wait, say that again. It broke up.
It's starting to feel like fall.
It's starting to feel like fall in New England. Are you going leaf peeping?
I went up to New Hampshire like 2 weeks ago and then yesterday, and I didn't really see the leaves start.
Yeah, they're not.
I think it's because of all the water that we got this summer.
It's going to be late this year. It's going to be late.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.